Hi, this is Sam Lagana with the Los Angeles Rams. Whose house? You're listening to the Los Angeles Rams UK podcast. Undenied worldwide. The Los Angeles Rams. It doesn't get any better than this. Let's go Rams!
Good evening, welcome to another episode of the LA Rams UK podcast, episode 87, World Cup Madness. I'm John, and joining me as always is Andy. Andy, how's it going, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. Thanks. How are you?
Just deja vu, isn't it? Here we are, another week, another loss. I mean, I've actually am worried that I forgot what it feels like to win. Don't know about yourself.
Yeah, only positive. At least it wasn't a cricket score that we expected.
That is it, aye. Yes, indeed. So obviously we're here this week to, first of all, go over the Week 12 loss where the Rams went 26-10 down to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas. Andy, I believe you had made yourself otherwise engaged because you were worried it was going to be a cricket score.
Yeah, I had unfortunately other plans. I wasn't able to watch much, at the game and that. But yeah, I think we all knew this was going to be a defeat. I think we were just, how bad a defeat was it going to be? And, there were one or two flashes, as you can probably see from the stats and everything. But, our season's done and we've just got to now let these kids ride and let's see what they can do.
Well, that's it, yes. So we've got another after this week where we've got about 6 games to go. Unfortunately, this is where the extra regular season game is really kind of biting us this year. But yeah, it's just a case now of limping to the end of the season because more injuries coming out of the game. We've also got Aaron Donald, who looks like he's done for the season now, and people are worried he could be done. Period for us. Who knows? We'll have to see what comes in the off season, but. I mean, like you said, the main positive taken out of the game was it wasn't as bad as we first thought. A lot of guys, like yourself, like myself, a lot of guys in Discord as well, and probably online as well, all communicating that we're going to get absolutely annihilated. But it just seemed to be a case that the Chiefs felt if we go out here and just go into top gear, yeah, we could absolutely destroy the Rams. But what's the point of risking injuries to our key players when we need to think about the off season? So it just, for me, it seemed like the Chiefs just wanted to stay 2 scores ahead, looking at the game. And we've seen Bryce Perkins making his first career start. His stats don't really read too well. 13 for 23 for 100 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions. Great, he got a touchdown, but it just felt like all they wanted to do was just let him run with the ball. I mean, he was the leading rusher, 9 for 44 yards. As opposed to Aker, who was 8 for 37, Williams 11 for 35. But Riley Dixon, though, although he's got his 100% completion rate. He was 1 for 1 for 6 yards on the fake punt.
Yeah, maybe we should just play Dixon as our quarterback for the rest of the season.
Well, he's more accurate, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's one of those ones, like, when I was looking at the stats, I mean, overall, a lot of people are saying that Perkins telegraphed a lot of his passes, so that's when he was prone to a lot of blocks and obviously 2 picks as well. I didn't feel like he was overly bad. He wasn't great or anything like that. And when I was preparing for this episode, I was going to write that I felt that I have written, so I'll bring up my positive on the screen. So I had written at the time that Perkins appears to be a better backup than Wolford, but his stats as a passer tell a different story. Because statistically, 13, 23, 100 yards, 23 passing plays in a game doesn't really sound that good for a quarterback, regardless if you're a backup or whatever. But John Wolford, couldn't put the ball anywhere near the end zone or put threat to a defense of scoring with much better stats, 2 weeks previous. So it's really a case of, Wolford could maybe throw for a couple 100 yards a game, but to me, Perkins feels like he could get his downfield, but he's not great. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, again, like I said, coming into this game, it's a difficult environment to go in and play your first game of football. That stadium's loud. He's not used to, whereas a more experienced quarterback like Stafford would be used to silent counts and, getting the ball off. it's probably a very hostile environment from, for any quarterback, yet alone a rookie, on his first game of, his career, so but there are some positives. It's nice to see that, he can pass the ball around, and maybe, the more game time he gets, the more first team reps he gets, the better he may be. But he does also give us that little bit of a mobility, where he can help out the run game as well. He's not a Lamar Jackson or anything, but, he can get you steady yards and maybe keep drives going that way. Whereas before, it'd be right, we're free and out because we keep trying to pass it. At least now with him, it's a case of, okay, you know what? It's 2nd and 3. Okay, well, we ain't going to pass it. We ain't got to pass it to give it to the running back and telegraph everything. Yeah, Perkins just go and get those 3-4 yards that we need.
So a little bit of that for it, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of dynamicism to the game, may help. And, if you look at the stats, that's, I'd probably say, average backup play. There's a reason these guys are backups, but, let's, see maybe if you can get some more game time, get some more practice with the first team, and see, even with probably the second team, because I would imagine his normal day-to-day job for the team is basically, the scout quarterback. So he just basically has to play like whoever the defense is playing against that week. So maybe giving him a little bit more, even first and second team reps would, maybe just help his development. And, not saying he's ever going to push Stafford, but at least he could be an option to sit, so that if Stafford does get injured, that we can say, right, you know what, at least we know we can plug him in. Yeah, we've got to change the game plan a little bit, but, we can at least move. To be honest, you look at the stats, it's, they're not much different from when Stafford has been in there recently.
Well, that's it. Yeah, there's been some games where Stafford hasn't even got over 200 yards a game. I mean, we had games where he couldn't even throw a touchdown pass. Yeah, so it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's like, it's not great, but it's not bad when you consider some of the other performances we've had throughout the season. For me, I do like the kind of dynamicism that Perkins can give us as a backup quarterback, because, whilst he's not Matthew Stafford, obviously, but because he is mobile, he does add that kind of unknown quantity. We, like you said, we could be like 2nd and 3, could be 3 and 3, and where there might be a screen pass on it's 3rd down. McVay loves a screen pass in 3rd down. He's loved to bring that 2018 play back into his playbook. With Perkins will just go and snap it, and he'll just run right under centre and gain like 3-4 yards.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I like that element to his game. I do like, to be honest, I've always liked a mobile quarterback. Like going back to like guys like I hated to play against them, but love to watch them. Like Donovan McNabb and Mike Vick, like 2 quarterbacks I really loved seeing when we weren't playing them, because it was exciting to see them just take off sometimes as well, as having an absolute cannon on them, and being very intelligent quarterback. So I do like seeing that, and it's Perkins is still a young guy, I guess, and he's still developing. So it's one of those ones. The more game time he's going to get here, with the news tonight that John Wolford's going to start on Sunday, I was kind of hoping that Perkins was going to continue to start, because I don't think he did too bad. We're playing the Chiefs after all. So, all things considered, playing against one of the best teams in the league, he didn't do too bad against defence. He led us in a couple of lengthy drives. I think the touchdown drive was like something like 73 yards. So he is capable of literally going down the field, which is good. Whereas I don't feel that Wolford can get us downfield. We've got to be starting at least in their half to have a chance with Wolford to drive. That's how I feel about it.
I'm wondering if maybe this he's saying Wolford will start, and maybe he'll mix it up between the two like he's previously done, or it'll be, hopefully Wolford gets one half. If he doesn't look good, well, let me bring Perkins in and give him the second half, and maybe mix about. But I like Perkins as well, because he does help the run game, because he can do those read things. So, okay, right, which keeps defenses guessing, right? Is it going to be the running back coming at us, or is it going to be when you can sort of look and go, right, the edge player's crashing down on me, so I'll let the running back take it, and that'll create the space. Or, okay, the edge player's crashing for the middle, right, that gives me the outside run. to take off on that and to get the yards. So it does add that, as you say, that little bit of flair to the offense that we can maybe use to our advantage. And, maybe even when Stafford comes back, play him as sort of that Taysom Hill where, he'll grind you the yards out, but you can also, there is that threat that he can still pass it off, and get the yards that way just to keep, A, defenses honest, and B, keep Stafford upright a little, keep him a little bit more healthier throughout the season. So maybe he's not taking the knocks that he's been over the last few years to, help him.
Yeah, like when you mentioned Taysom Hill there, obviously the Saints used to play him. It was almost like a split quarterback. They used to bring it in. So Breeze maybe under centre, but if he's in the shotgun with Hill next to him, who knows who's taking the snap? Surely then that would give us the opportunity to put Perkins out there and he could take a direct snap and just run with it. Keep defenses guessing. So there's a bit of trickery that they could use him with on our offense. So for me, like having now seen Wilford properly start this season and now see Perkins, I'd rather move forward with Perkins because I think he actually, whilst he isn't a great backup quarterback, he has use for us because he could come in on the odd play and just kind of like throw a cat amongst the pigeons, to defenses.
Yeah.
So it gives a whole new dynamic to our playbook in terms of a bit of trickery that we could use, whereas you can't do that with Wilford.
Yeah, for me, it just feels like at the moment, Perkins has more upside for the future than Wilford does.
Yep, I agree there, yeah.
That's just how it feels to me. There's more excitement, there's more positivity for me with Perkins than there is with Wilford.
Yep.
He's had one good game in his career, and the rest of the time, even when he has come in, he's never looked that same player.
Yep. And it's interesting you say that because if you remember back to the 2020 season when we first saw Wilford start for us when Goff had his thumb injury, we were all excited that Wilford was mobile. So you look at him now and he's not, we don't actually think he's that mobile. So, I mean, I think maybe it just shows you how bad Goff's mobility was that
I
season.
think that's what it is. It was because, Goff was so static and, didn't really move. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was, oh my God, we've got someone who can run. But like you say, as you say, now you've seen them, there is the proliferation throughout the league of mobile quarterbacks, Murray's, Jackson's, even the likes of Joe Burrow can move himself, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, these players can, if they have to, move themselves, And
it seems to be a requirement now from a quarterback that you do need a good degree of mobility. I mean, in general, as a quarterback, yes, you do, because if you've got pass rush come down, your pocket collapse, you need to be able to at least scramble. But it seems to be a case of it's more expected that you are mobile, not necessarily to be able to run it well, but they need quarterbacks to be quicker because defensive players are getting that bit quicker. It does seem like that way.
Yeah, exactly. They are getting, I think the days of, quarterback, you can just be a Brady and, runs, a 4.4 time that, is measured in weeks. Those sort of players are not really successful in the league anymore. You've got to have, you can still, you don't have to be some quick guy, but you just have to have average speed. So as you say, you can, move around the pocket, escape and, play those, bootlegs that McVay's scheme likes to play, where he has got the quarterback on the move and getting himself on that play action to sort of help out the team.
Yep. And when we look over in terms of the game, looking over to the defense, Aaron Donald, whilst we didn't register a single sack on Mahomes, Aaron Donald got a ridiculous amount of pressure on Mahomes to hurry him up. And he was unlucky to not register the sack. I mean, he knocked Mahomes to the ground a fair few times, but I think it just kind of highlights that whilst Gaines and Robinson, are decent on the defensive line for us, Aaron Donald needs a bit more talent up front with him, because I think if he just had even made that half a yard or wasn't covered by 2-3 guys, he would have he would have registered a good few sacks on Mahomes, which, considering the rest of the season, like, he's not really sacked. He's not really got many sacks. I don't know what his stats off the season to tell you off the top of my head, but it's not been to the same level that he normally performs at, whilst it has been still a decent season for him. I'm not trying to discredit Aaron Donald because he is still, the GOAT in defence as far as I'm concerned. I think it just, like I said, it highlights that we need more quality up front, or in terms, it's just edge rushing, I guess. But it was one of the things I suppose was highlighted going into the trade deadline, and there was, the rumours about Brian Burns and whatnot, which didn't come to anything, which, thank God, the way the season's gone since, I guess. But yeah, for me, it was good to see a bit more pressure up front from Donald. And then obviously, like special teams, I think Riley Dixon would be the player of the week if we were going to announce one, because his opening punt resulted in a muffled punt, which Nick Scott recovered, which was great and gave us excellent field position from then on. And then he completed the pass. Dixon seems to have picked up almost from where Johnny Hecker left off. We can see that he can complete that kind of fake pass. So would you say that whilst he is no Johnny Hecker, and Johnny Hecker was a great punter for us, he's a good enough replacement?
Yeah, I'm not going to be honest. I didn't like him at the beginning of this. I didn't want him when he came into the team. I thought, and I think I was quite vocal with it, after when Dicker got cut. I was like, why are we keeping Dixon? I think, he's a waste of space. He's not, he's never done anything for the Giants. I'd have rather have kept the younger lad. But, he's grown on me through the season. He's been, bar one or two mistakes, which is that on him, or was it on his protection, with a couple of blocked punts and stuff? He's done the job. And he's probably been maybe a bit better than even Hecker was last year, because I think we all could see last year Hecker was starting to struggle. He wasn't the same player. So he's come in, he's done his job, and that's all you can ask for really off your punter. Is just come in and do your job. It's one of them positions. It is like much like the kicker. It's a fickle position. Make too many mistakes, you're out of a team, and you're easily pretty much replaced.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging 49 yards a punt this year. Off of 50 punts, he's averaging 49.1. His longest was 64. It's not bad for a punter. And a few of the games this year, he's, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, he's averaged 60 or above. He's not the average, his longest, has been
60.
Yeah, so I mean, that's, pretty good.
Decent. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a good replacement, and a lot of people are saying, like, the way the game was going, like, Riley Dixon was going to be, like, our player of the week and probably NFC special teams player of the week, I guess. So, I mean, for me, that's all the positives I took for the game. I mean,
just going back to your Aaron Donald thing, it's actually his lowest total so far ever, with only 5 sacks this season. And so it looks like that's going to be his end stats for the year, because it doesn't look like he's going to be.
Well, yeah. So, if anyone hasn't seen, Aaron Donald suffered a high ankle sprain in the first quarter of the game and played through it for the remainder of the game. Which, like I said, considering he was still getting pressures on Mahomes, and he was, playing through an injury, is even more impressive for him. But 6 to 8 weeks, no surgery required. So Aaron Donald is as good as done for the season. Another player shut down for the year. I guess it'll be Marquise Copeland that will step up in his place or whatever, or adjust it across. But a shame that Donald's done for the year, I guess. But it's just the story of our season. Another week, another key injury, I guess.
Yeah, as I think we've said before, I think this is it. Now we've just got to shut everyone down. He's gonna, he's basically guaranteed pretty much a starting place next year, and let's just give these younger guys and fringe players on the bubble a chance to sort of actual live game time now for the rest of the season. And
that's it. Yeah.
Does it really matter if we win 1 or 2 games more in a season? Yeah, it'll maybe we'll feel happy about a win, but in the big picture, it's not going to solve anything. So what's the point of risking more players for more injuries that potentially at this later stage in the season, it may not just affect this season, but potentially the start of next season.
Well, that's it, because depending on what injury you pick up, some of the guys might not be ready to go next year.
Well, look,
absolutely.
You look at Beckham, he's technically still out now because his injury's still not 100%.
Well, that's
He's only a
as
few weeks removed from sort of imagine that happened to one of our guys at week 18. We're potentially going to miss the first 5-6 games of a season, potentially if not more, for an injury for last season. It's just not worth it now.
That's it. Yep, absolutely. It's just it's not worth the risk for no games. Like, yeah, it'd be great to win games, obviously, but for where we're at with things, like, I think we're just like, let's just get to the end of the season. Let's just regroup, rebuild if we have to, and just come back again, come out the traps next year with everyone fully fit, fully healthy, and ready to go. Let's just let's just take the hit this year so that the guys can feel the pain of it and go in the mindset of day one, like training camp or whatever next year, like in the mentality, I'm not going through another season like that again. No way. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of the negatives for the game, I tried to really kind of like played it down, just like obviously it's a loss, 5 in a row, more injuries. I mean, there's other things you could probably talk about, but I don't want to sit and be negative, all night, because it is what it is now. We all know how this season has went. We know where it is now. We know where it's going. Let's just get to the end together and look forward to hopefully a better year next year.
Yeah, like I say, like I said the other week, you know what? At this point, the more games now we're gonna think, the higher, the picks that we do have, they're going to be high up in those rounds, which maybe gives us a chance to get a little bit more talent. Or, as Snead likes to do, wheel and deal, and maybe, if we've got a high second round pick, he can maybe swap it for an extra second and a third.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Maybe,
so,
which will allow us to, maybe move around the board a little bit.
Yeah, because the way it kind of looks to now is, it's not great that the Lions are going to get what's going to right now is definitely a top 5 pick.
Yeah,
in a draft. It's not great that we're in that position where we would have thought no, it'll be a high first round pick, so it doesn't really matter. No one could anticipate that was going to go this way. People going, oh, the Lions have won out the Matthew Stafford trade. I don't see the Lions sitting here with a ring in their fingers. So
no, exactly,
they didn't. They didn't win out of that. They've gained out of the trade, which is what most teams hope to gain when you trade any player. So they've won out of what they gained from the trade, but they didn't win the trade. We won the trade. We got the ring. We got what we set out to get end of.
Yeah.
But like you said, when it comes to round 2, one of the top first 5 picks in the second round, for those guys that just drop down into that second round, hopefully, fingers crossed, I know we've questioned it in previous episodes, hopefully the scouting department are really going over guys with a fine-tooth comb here, because all eyes are going to be, not even just from us, but I mean across the league as well, because people are going to want to see how we're going to regroup and come back at this. So that first pick on the second round from us, that pick in the second round, I mean to say, is going to be heavily scrutinised. So they're really going to have to pick well. Yeah. And people putting polls online, like, what would you draft? The kind of consensus that I'm seeing in my feeling is, if you can get a really good offensive lineman with that pick in the second round, that's got to be a pick. Then you get guys saying about, like, we need to draft a quarterback, as a backup. Nah. 2024, different story, because we'll have a first round pick back. And depending on how we do next year, that's when you can maybe start to discuss the idea of drafting Stafford's replacement. But that's down the line. For all we know, we could come out next year, hit the ground running, and that first round pick could be a high first round pick.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're not going to draft a quarterback out of that.
Yeah.
What will probably happen is we'll probably trade it away for an established player, which is fair enough.
We, to be honest, if it's not edge or O-line, as we say, they're the 2 positions of top priority.
Yeah,
maybe corner as well, to be honest, because we do really need someone alongside Ramsey. You know, but those 3, if it's anything other than that, it'll be a massive disappointment, and we'll, really questions I think will have to be asked about the backroom staff.
Well, and we have previously discussed that, and we've had people ask questions about it as well. We even had a 49ers fan ask us on the podcast about the background staff and the coaching staff. So that next year is very critical because it's not just about on the field; it'll be about off the field as well. Because if we don't bounce back in terms of, when I say bounce back, I mean back to challenging and being in the discussion,
at the end of
in
the
the
day,
mix, in the hunt,
back to a winning season, because unfortunately with the market we're in, as much as I hate to say it, the Tenants have probably pretty much set with, they've got a star quarterback, decent players and positions. We can't allow them to start being the hype team of LA, because if they are, we just disappear without a trace.
Absolutely. And just on that, like, just when you say about, like, you obviously talk about Justin Herbert there, you tell me if you see this as well, when, like, you see any comments, especially from Chargers fans. Well, give Christ, I called them by their actual name there rather than the Tenants. Sorry, apologies.
Yes, you must now go and flog yourself in the corner.
I know. Sorry. They don't seem to rate Herbert, from what I'm saying. I don't. The comments I see online from Tenants fans, I don't really get it, because he is a fairly decent quarterback.
Yeah,
and
I'd take him.
Absolutely. You send them. I will be put in our locker room. I'd gladly take Justin Herbert out there in horns, but I don't understand how they can look at him and go, they don't like him.
I think it's just because he's having. I think they were one of those teams at the beginning of the season. They were getting hyped as Super Bowl contenders, and it's as per usual for them, it just doesn't seem to be going well for them.
No.
But to be honest, I think for them, I have I've got friends who unfortunately are Tenants fans. And a few of them are saying it's not down to him, it's down to the offensive coaching, and the offensive coaching is pants. They want a new offensive coach because he just doesn't seem to do it. And there is talk apparently that even Staley's on the hot seat now at the end of the season because of how bad the season's. Because they wanted, when they weren't happy that Staley was brought in, they wanted an offensive-minded head coach, not a defensive-minded head coach.
So send them back. We'll take them.
We'll take them back. We'll have
no
them tomorrow,
questions asked.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm honest, but Staley is a better coach out of the two.
Yeah. So there is that, and I think that's what it is. It's just a case of he's not, he's having that sort of bit of a dip from last year. People expected more, but all quarterbacks go through that. Brady's gone through it. Rodgers, Breeze back in the day, they've all had deep dip seasons where it's just like nothing goes right.
Yeah.
Again, their offensive line, they're building it, but it's not a perfect offensive line either. Yeah, they're probably one draft maybe and a signing away from.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think as well, some of the fans are looking at, is it next year or the year after they'll have to pay him. So you're talking a big investment in your team again, that potentially, you can't then go out and sign your Khalil Max and everybody else because,
Interesting. It's interesting because that would potentially put us roughly at the point where we may be looking for another quarterback. So that's,
exactly.
We'll pay him. If Matthew Stafford's retired at that point, then, we'll pay him. We'll have a quarterback that's only 26, 27 at the time.
Yeah, exactly. But like I say, I would say, but I think there was a lot of people when he was drafted as high as he was were questioning him. He's not a good quarterback. He never looked, but I think he's done perfectly well since he's come in the league. And to be honest, it's that, it seems to be for me, it's like who was the best quarterback in that draft? It's kind of like Burrow's 1A and Herbert's 1B. It's that close for me between the two of them.
Yeah. Yep, just looking at Herbert's contract there, he is up in 2024, so that could work out no bad, but I guess, that's a discussion for further down the line, so let's stop talking about the Tenants anymore and moving on to, the owners of SoFi Stadium. So this week, week 13, the Rams host the Seahawks, kick off at 9:05 UK time, and the game is on NFL Game Pass, so thank God Sky have came to their senses and decided, we don't want to watch the Rams anymore. That's fine by us.
Yeah.
We've mentioned this game coming up for the last few weeks now, because we've not played the Seahawks this year, and Geno Smith looks like he's going to win comeback player of the year. Not looking forward to this one, Andy.
No, especially now looks with Stafford out, Donald out, Cup out. It's kind of like, okay, let's just get this over and done with. You know, that's how it feels with these games now. It's just like, right, let's just get this over and done with, and let's just see, flashes that we can be hopeful for next season more than anything else now. I think that's the way we're looking at it. Most people are looking at it now. It's done. It's over. Let's just see what we can get through to the end of the season, and maybe there's some bright sparks that we don't know about yet that we can, stash away for next year.
Yep. So just looking at some of the kind of the injury reports and whatnot. Matthew Stafford's cleared concussion protocol, but he's still out due to a neck injury. So that means that, as we've mentioned earlier on, John Wolford's going to start on Sunday. Bryce Perkins will be also backup. But Jordan Rodriguez says it sounds like the Rams could use both, just like you alluded to, Andy. Of our injury reports, Lance McCutcheon's out, Terrell Lewis is out. Ernest Jones with back spasms is questionable, but he's trending positively. Javon Howard is out with hip injury. Troy Hill, groin, is questionable and it'll be a game time decision. And Brian Allen with combination of thumb and knee is questionable. So that's in terms of David Edwards, they are taking things a day at a time. So he's day to day, really. And Sean McVay, said tonight, I'm just reading this is from the kind of press conference tonight, that they're still gathering information about Stafford's neck injury. Haven't got any information in terms of it being a long-term or chronic issue. And he still doesn't rule out shutting down Stafford for the rest of the year. So just, Donald's out for the rest of the year. Just let's just shut Stafford down and just, get it. Why we've talked about this last few weeks. Why risk, hurting them any further? It's just...
if he gets a third concussion, that's potentially, not just his, his career over and, life threatening.
That's it.
What's the point,
Exactly. For what
he's getting paid. So what?
He's still going to collect his pay, regardless of whether he plays or not. I mean, granted, as an athlete and a professional, he wants to play, but come on, your head.
Yeah,
I think on Kelly's podcast this week, she again was for as she's done the last few weeks talking about that, that she wants him healthy and whatnot, doesn't want him to play this season, but kind of says that what he's telling her is, if I'm healthy, I want to play.
Yeah,
and it's his decision, but that's where I would like the team to go.
You don't.
We get you want to play. You can suit up, but you're not starting.
Yeah.
If you want to play, it's fine, but you're not the starting quarterback.
No.
We'll take it. We'll put you in if we have to, but not because we just you want to go in that. But
like I've alluded to, I'd rather he just sat the season out now, maybe help recover maybe these questionable back and elbow injuries that people have been rabbiting on about since even before the season started. Give him those few extra weeks that maybe, as we say, if he is coming back, that maybe next year it'll be a case of, right, you know what, you've got no issues day one of camp. You're not sort of still coming in with, my elbow's still a bit funny from last year or this, that. He's completely fit, healthy, let's go. There's no issues, and we can just let him go from day one and just, hopefully get back to the form that, we'd like to see him, that we expect.
Yeah. Also, interesting one for you. So, every week of this season, we've had a different offensive line out there. So, we've had, in 11 games, we've had 11 different combinations. Interesting one for you. If Abushi is able to play and Niseki is able to play on Sunday, for the first time this season, the Rams will put out an offensive line combination that they have put out in a previous game this season. That's just insane to think.
Just shows you just how bad our offensive line has been hit by injuries this season.
Yep, we've never had the same offensive line out in any two games this season.
Like I've alluded to before, these players aren't the best players in the league. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting the consistency of week in, week out playing together, it's difficult because you're not getting that gelled combination that that maybe can help. And the offensive line coaches, your offensive coordinators, McVay, can go, okay, well, this is a weakness. So, you know what? I need to change my game plan a little bit. Because it's, as you say, it's getting swapped and started. So you can never get anything sort of figured out anyway. And I think that has been a bit of a problem this year, is because we've had so much chop and change up front. We've never been able to sort of get that rhythm and allow, these guys to sort of look and go, right, well, that's not going to work. We need to adjust a little bit, do this instead, and then it'll, it masks the weakness of the offensive line.
Yep. And the other thing we want to talk about for this week's game is there is a contingent from the UK who are they might have landed. I don't know what the flight schedule's like, but a contingent, the LA Rams UK trip set out, I believe, today. Just looking into it, seen a post from Tom Sloan for the podcast, with the obligatory pint and passport picture, although he's got 2 pints there, so I don't know if that one's from himself or not. But yeah, so a group of the UK guys are heading out there for the Seahawks game on Sunday, and they'll also be in town for the Raiders game. So for it, if anyone from America is listening, please look out for the LA Rams UK guys. If you hear a British accent or other, please give them a warm welcome, and, as the usual hospitality you guys give, because the guys are absolutely buzzing to get out there, and we look forward to hearing about how the trip went on the way back. But, for me personally, I'm absolutely gutted I'm not going there myself, regardless of how the team are doing. So,
yep, jealous.com here as well.
Maybe next time, Andy?
Hopefully, maybe next time we can get out there and we'll show them how it's done.
Yep, unless, the Rams come over here. We had Rooney from LA Rams Germany on the other week, and, when we were talking to him, and they kind of before the podcast kicked off that night, he was saying it would be great if, the Rams came to Germany for us to, just go en masse to Germany and have like a European party, so you never know. It's been a few years since the Rams came to UK, so, obviously we won't be technically the home team because of the whole international market thing, same with in Germany, but, we could be technically the road team, so, we can't go over there. Hopefully they come to us. I don't care. Yeah, I've already told the wife that, the next time they come out this way, I have to go. Because I've never seen the Rams, being a Rams fan for, 22, 23 years now, and I've never seen them live. So, enough's enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here, mate. I want to get out, either there or over here, as you're saying, get a game in and, just get to do it. It's one of them bucket lists, on the bucket list to do.
Yep. So moving on. So questions are getting later and later weeks. I don't think anyone wants to ask, or people are maybe tired of asking the same questions. But we got one in. I think it's Paul Milligan on Facebook. Asked us 2 questions and one. So do you think the Rams should try and hold on to marquee players and use the limited amount of picks in next year's draft to take another run at Lombardi, or should we trade some of those blue chip guys and begin the process of a full rebuild? What do you think, Andy? Keep the marquee guys and try and go for it again, or start trading away for, the future?
That's a question maybe to come back at the beginning of, training camp and everything next year. For me, it depends on certain players and whether they're going to be here next year. Your Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford's. If they're, if they're looking at, if Aaron Donald retires, and I would just say at that point, tear it down. Let's, rebuild 2024. Let's try and build for that first round pick, number 1 pick next, in 2024 for the quarterback of our choosing, whoever it may be. I've seen, a few players, and pundits saying, we could get the guy from USC, but
Caleb Williams, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I've seen the name.
It's too early to, the players get hyped up, and then come the end of, come that draft season, they've played absolutely rubbish, and that they fell way down. So or another quarterback proves to be much better, and you will bring him in. So but like I say, I think it's going to be, let's just get this season over and done with. Let's see what happens. But like I say, if Donald retires, then just rip the thing down, because I don't see the point. It's getting to that point then. We're starting to lose players, and like I say, there are rumblings I've seen that apparently some of our star players are also not happy now on the team. There are rumblings, of infighting and stuff. There's problem apparently. Ramsey's starting to get a little bit peeved. We all know how quickly he can change his tune. There's rumors. that there are other players on the team as well who are sort of, questioning things, and we don't know what else is going on backstage. For all we know, McVay might just go, you know what, I'm not doing this. I've got my $100 million contract with Amazon. I'm see you. I'm off. The fact that these guys have already thought about retirement and leaving, are they want to, is the likes of Donald McVay going to want to do, potentially stay, for a rebuild that, they're not potentially going to win anything in their careers? Because, Donald, Ramsey, even Cup, Stafford, they've all, they're coming to their end of their careers. They're not, in the middle of them. They are heading towards the ends, unfortunately.
Well, that's like you said, like Stafford won't be around for a rebuild regardless because his age. Donald is, the wrong side of 30 for a rebuild, I'd say now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, a rebuild doesn't happen in a season, and then you're back to it. You need to buckle in for maybe a few seasons because you can't address all your problems in one draft. Put it that way.
That's why I'm saying maybe having the best picks in each round can maybe allow us to maybe do a little bit of a Chiefs rebuild style.
Yes.
Maybe just a few players here, a few players there. That will just push us over the edge, and with hopefully, fingers crossed, next season not as many injuries. It may just allow us to, get back to being a competitive team because if it wasn't for the injuries, I do think we'd still probably be competitive. It's just like I said, that injury bug has just landed in the Rams locker room this year and it's not gone away, and it's just ripped us to shreds.
Well, that's it, because every season there is at least one team that happens to, and unfortunately the ball is in our court.
Yeah,
so
we were due it at some point off.
Yeah.
We've been fairly lucky, especially in key areas like the offensive line. We've only ever had maybe one, Whitworth going down for a week here, a week there.
Yeah.
Maybe a centre a week here. We've never had it where to this extreme.
Yeah, but I think the problem with the offensive line is we lost the likes of like Corbett and Blythe leaving as well, and doing well elsewhere. We lost guys that maybe we should have just paid the money to keep. Giving the money elsewhere, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is where you come back to we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford these players because we'd gone all in on a few. We were given Aaron Donald that massive contract. There was the money coming for Goff. Even before Stafford, we'd paid Goff way more than
ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, that he was really worth in reality. In hindsight again, and we paid him early. We potentially could have had 2 more years of him on his rookie contract.
Which is just...
Which, again, goes back to, okay, that's on the backroom staff. That's bad planning by the backroom staff. As, we would have had his 4th year, and then we could have signed him on his 5th-year option. Which would have maybe not put us in a position where we had to, we could have still done the trade for Stafford, but we wouldn't have had to give him that extra first rounder because that was for his contract.
Exactly. And like you're saying about you're saying hypothetically speaking, tear it down, and having say the number 1 pick in each round. That's where we've talked about it. Background staff, scouting department, your less needs, because they'll love to trade that a draft capital away. And it's one of those ones it would be good to bring in established talent. But if you're going to do that, at least make sure that guys that just came out of their rookie contract, not guys that are, like your Von Millers or whatever, that are further down the line, and then just bugger off elsewhere for more money.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when like we were last season, you're pushing for a Super Bowl. They are the sort of players, the older established players that you can bring in on that 1-year contract. You get them in free agency and you say, right, you know what, I'll give you 10 million to come into this team on a 1-year deal to basically just improve that final piece to push you over the edge.
Yeah,
but the hindsight is that the draft picks we gave up for Von Miller, we won the Super Bowl, but was it for the long term health of your team, was it really worth it? And these are the questions that people are asking. But
we've got the ring. Take the hat. We've got the ring. That's the kind of line I'm now starting to go with.
you have to sort of go like teams like, the Tenants have done, like the Bengals have done, even the Chiefs to a certain extent. It's better if you've got that the rookie quarterback who's a good quarterback, so that you can then splash that cash around in other positions where you can get away with signing free agents.
Exactly, and we're talking about, like, 2024 we'll have that first round pick back again, and my kind of feeling is, as long as it's, I don't know, I want us to bounce back next year. Obviously, I want us to be successful, but if we're not going to be, if we're going to have top 10 pick in that first round, then that's the point, is maybe look to pull the trigger on, as you said, like the Bengals and the Chiefs, did, on bringing that a good prospect in, and getting a good 4-5 years out of him on a rookie contract. That's exactly the point to pull the trigger then. But like you said, that's the question. We've answered the question. Here, that the general feeling is we have to consider tearing it down here, because we you could it's going to be, it'd be great, obviously it'd be great to keep on to, like, say, Donald and whatnot, but I think in the back of our minds now, a lot of us are now asking, what does the longer term option look like? What does the long term future of the team look like for us? I mean, when we're at the point now, it's starting to ask that. So maybe that's where, as I've said before, it's good that the bubbles burst for us now rather than later, because you could be a further few years down the line, an older Aaron Donald, an older Matt Stafford, an older Ramsey, an older Cup, where the stock has fell in terms of what you could get draft capital wise for them by trading them off. So if we're going to do it, this will be the year to do it. But like you said, if Donald retires, then I think it's a house of cards in terms of the marquee players. I think, if not all of them, most of them are gone. And it's one of, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, it's a case of, right, okay, well, you tank for your quarterback for next year, which is, what teams do these days. This is where somebody like a Perkins, you just say, right, you know what, you've got a year. Like teams have previously done with quarterbacks, right? You've got a year, prove what you can do. If he turns out that he's great, well, you're like, great, we're sorted in that position. We can then, all of a sudden that draft pick's going to be high because you've played well, and you can bring in talent in other positions where we need to bring it in. If he sucks, well, yeah, all right, then we've got the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick, whatever. Right, well, that's our quarterback. That's our new franchise quarterback,
Yeah, because the other thing is, we may have, as you're saying about tanking, if, say hypothetically speaking, Stafford decides, I'm not going to be healthy, I'm gone this year, you correct me if I'm wrong with how the contracts works, because I don't fully understand how it works. If he retires, he's off the books. So
there will be a small thing, because, like, for example, Andrew Whitworth, we owe $2 million to him next year on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a massive, it's not the 15, 16, 17 million.
Yeah, I understand there's still a hit, but it's not a hit to the extent of what it would be.
Yes, so, for the length of however long his contract is, so it would be a minimal amount. You're not talking his $20 million contract a year or whatever it is. You are talking, and it wouldn't surprise me with some of these players as well if the team does have outs written into the contract. I think Aaron Donald's got one. It wouldn't surprise me if Stafford's got the out as well. That covers for things like injuries, retirements, etc., so that the team doesn't get hit with a massive, problem. But obviously I think a lot of their money as well is tied up in guaranteed money, so it makes the hit even less again.
I'm just looking at Matthew Stafford's contract, just see if it jumps out quickly on how, but I can't see an out jumping out to me here. We've got until 2026 when he'll be 38.
Yeah.
And at that point, his cap number's 49,500,000 as opposed to 13 million this year.
Yeah, I just there's got to be they've probably just not put it in yet that there's an out in that one.
Yeah, because in 2024 he accounts on nearly a fifth of our overall cap.
Yeah, but then I think as well what people need to look at as well is that the cap goes up every year, so it sounds bad now, but when you look at it later on in his career,
yeah, I suppose we'll see what the cap is then. But yeah, so that's that. So trying to move on now to a more happier note. So if anyone's been following over the last kind of week, we announced it last week in the podcast, the start of the Rams World Cup. So over the last week on Facebook, Twitter, and we had a Google form as well, we put up essentially 32 wins from the last 4 seasons for the Rams and asking people to vote on which 2 games from each group they've wanted to see progress, like their 2 favourite games from each group. So it's already on LARams.uk, the group stage results, but I'll just quickly go through them. So Group A, we had from 2018 and 2020, we had 2 matches with the Seahawks. 2021 regular season win over the Bucks and a 2019 win over the Falcons. So in Group A, Seahawks 33-31 from week 5 and the Buccaneers 34-24 from week 3 progress from Group A. Group B had the Seahawks wildcards game from 2020. That's the one where Goff was injured and then came in to win the game. And the 2018 week 2 Cardinals at home shutout 34-0. The Coliseums. Group C, no surprises that the Super Bowl win over the Bengals finished first with the Buccaneers 2020 week 11 27-24 win coming. The other 2 games in that group were the Saints 27-9 win from 2019, which was the game where all the Saints fans turned up dressed as referees with flags, if you don't remember. And we also had a Broncos win 23-20 in that group. Group D, Chiefs, unsurprisingly, the Monday night, blowout 54-51, won the group there. And the second place, Cardinals from week 14 last year, the road game in Arizona, where in the early in the season when the Cardinals beat us, they had a number, and if everyone started to feel as if like the tide had turned for our season, and we were, we obviously did charge towards the Super Bowl, but it felt like we've turned this around. So that progressed. Group E, we had the 49ers from 2018, week 7, 39-10. It's still our biggest win for a couple of decades over the Winers. And in second place, the week 1 win from last season against the Bears, which was the first game in SoFi with fans and the first game with Matthew Stafford as quarterback. Then Group F, which saw both NFC Championship games progress. So the Saints unsurprisingly won the group, and the 49ers game from last year also progressed. Group G, the Vikings from 2018, week 4, 38-31 win, and the divisional round win against the Buccaneers from last season progressed. And then lastly, Group H, the week 6 win last year from the Giants won the group, and from 2020, the week 2 win over the Eagles also progressed. So thanks to everyone who voted there and took part in that. The voting will be a bit more easier to capture because the problem we had is we're asking for people to vote for 2, and on Twitter you can't do 2 votes. And in Facebook, for some reason, they've got rid of polls on pages. It'll be a bit easier this week because it'll be just straight up matchups and people will be able to just pick one or the other. So looking at the second round, which is kicking off this week. So over the course of the next week, between now and the next podcast, the 8 second round games will kick off. So first match you'll be able to vote on will be it's a 2018 matchup, the week 5 win from Seahawks, 33-31, and the week 1 win over the Cardinals, the shutout, 34-0. That'll be game number 1. Then we've got the Super Bowl win against the Bengals, against the week 14 win against the Cardinals from last year. Next game is our 49ers doubleheader. So the 2018 39-10 win and the NFC Championship game go up against each other. Match 4 is the 2018 Vikings win progressed against the Eagles win from 2020. Then we've got the Seahawks wildcard game against last year's week 3 win over the Bucks. Then we've got the Chiefs Monday night game against the 2020 win over the Bucks. Then it's the NFC Championship win over the Saints against the week 1 win over the Bears. And then the last one is week 6 win against the Giants, against the divisional round win against the Bucks. So all this is on the LARams.uk website. You'll be able to see we've got a page now for the second round, and if you go on it, It's got all the matchups. It's got a paragraph if you want to read about the game to refresh your memory, or you can just click on the link of the game. It'll take you to YouTube and you can watch the highlights of every game. And all point in this, basically, folks, is we are going to crown what will be voted the best Rams win over the last 4 seasons as we celebrate essentially what's kind of an end of an era, sadly. But with all the negativity around this season, it's a chance for people to go back and relive all the good times that we've had over the last few years, and just to, remember it's not been that bad. It's actually been great. It's been great since since back in the days when the greatest show on turf, we were successful then. It's probably actually a more consistent period of greatness. This might be controversial as opposed to back then, because we had some great years with the greatest show on turf, but it wasn't like 4-5 years in a row. It was like one good year, won a Super Bowl, not so good year, good year, good year, rubbish. Dark. Then the dark days started, as opposed to 4 solid years. Even the 2019 season, and granted, none of the games from the 2019 season have made out the groups. We were 9-7. It was still a winning season. It was still successful. We didn't make the playoffs, but it's not as bad as this year. Is what I'm trying to say. So the whole point in this, like I said, folks, is just to bit of positivity, look back on some great nights, relive some great memories, and let's see who's going to end up in top here. Have you got your pick, Andy, for who's going to win this?
I have a feeling I know certainly the likely final, but I think who's going to be picked is going to be the big one. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm.
I've got my own feelings on how the final is going to match up, and it's going to be a question about how people perceive success and perceive like what we're asking them to do here. We're asking people to look, to pick the best game. That may not necessarily be the best result in terms of scoreline or in terms of what season the game was in or what stage of the season. It's about what game from the ones that we put up do you prefer out of the two of them. It'll be interesting to see. We'll certainly see if there's any shocks. But yep, so they'll appear over the next week on social media. Vote away, folks. We'll announce how the games ended up, and we'll give you the breakdown of how that goes into the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, which will be the next 2 weeks, and then the final and third place playoff will be the final week of the season, where we will crown the Rams World Cup 2022. And fingers crossed, if we're still here in 4 years' time, we'll do the same again, and and hopefully by that point we'll have plenty of victories to pick from. But so hopefully. that's the Rams World Cup. So without anything else to add from myself, is there anything else you want to add or talk about, Andy?
Yeah, just going quickly back to the outs on the contracts.
Yep.
Out of our sort of big 4 players, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey have an out at the end of the 2023 season.
That's interesting.
Cooper Kupp has a out in his contract at the end of the 2024 season, and Matthew Stafford has an out in his contract at the end of the 2025 season.
Certainly interesting from Donald and Ramsey's perspective there, because they might decide, I'll give it another year there.
Yeah,
and see what happens.
I'm thinking. Yeah, that they have that out option at the end of that one to basically get out of it, and the team as well has that option to get out as well.
Yep. So I think it's one of those ones. In Donald's case, if we don't see him retire at the end of the season, and fingers crossed he doesn't, that's to say, it's then going to be in our minds like, well, he may turn around and say, look, guys, I want to leave, just terminate my deal, and we'll go, right, well, that's fine, you can go out. But I mean, that probably would have been the basis of him retiring. You don't want to tear up his contract and he just walks to someone else. So
if he's got to go, it'll be a case of, well, yeah, all right, we'll let you go, but we're trading you. We're not, and none of this. Or we'll I think favorite destination. I think people always bang at. He'll want to go to Pittsburgh for his final.
Yeah,
that's fine. You can go to Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's going to give us a first, a second, and a potential whatever future seconds. For you, and But let's hope we don't have to start. Come to that point where we have to really start thinking about that stuff, and hopefully, let's say, everybody will be back next year, a bit more health, maybe a couple of players, in. We still have that Logan Bruss, that we've not seen anything. Maybe.
That's it. Daniel Hardy returned to practice this week as well.
Yeah, I was just actually, I forgot to mention about him. It's nice to see, maybe he's a late draft pick, so we don't know what he's going to do, but the excitement there for the guy. Yeah, throw him out there. Let's see what he can do. Maybe he's that option. Maybe that's why Hollands went, is because they knew Hardy was coming back, and they maybe see something in him that he'd give us more than maybe Hollands does. Because that was the big question: was, well, why have they cut the guy who's our starter? Especially with Lewis out as well, kind of really struggling to get anything on the edge. So now's his perfect chance, maybe, to come in and show at the end of the year why we drafted him and what the hype was about, and let him see if he can maybe get a sack and get his confidence flowing.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Guys like Hardy coming in, that's hopefully give us something to look forward to over the coming weeks. But the last thing, actually, I wanted to ask Andy, on the topic of the World Cup, how's the World Cup going for you?
Yeah, so far so good. All my 3 teams and the sweepstakes in work are all still in there, so I'm happy. Yeah, and obviously, England are winning. I'm not a massive international football fan, to be brutally honest. It's I prefer my club football, but it's nice to see them winning and doing well. But they're coming up now against more difficult teams, and we'll just see what happens.
That's it. Senegal on Sunday, isn't it?
Aye, Senegal Sunday. That's a lot. A harder game, I feel, and even Wales. And to be honest, I think they are still a better team than even the US, and we struggled against the US. So we'll see what happens.
That's it. Well, I've had likes of Germany and Belgium, Uruguay, obviously go out the group. Yeah. So but I mean, obviously you've still got France, Portugal, whatever, still there, but it seems to be a bit more open, the tournament, in terms of the teams like Japan getting through and whatnot. So
yeah, to be honest, I've one thing we talk about. Obviously, the few to talk about football, and I have said maybe not this year, but for the next World Cup, 2026, teams like the US, Japan, they're all young, mainly young sides. Let's see, these guys could be the dark horses for the 2026 World Cup, because they're going to have an extra 4 years of development. They've got their experience of this year, this tournament under the belts. These teams, there may be some shortly a change in, order. But like I say, there has been some very weird results that you were like, did not even, today, South Korea, I didn't have them beating Spain. I thought, they were done and dusted. I thought, well, I'm about to lose one of my teams from the sweepstakes out the tournament, because that's Korea going tonight. I was like, whoa, they've won? Hang on a minute, they're through? What's going on? So, there's been a few, and I think that's what's kept the excitement going is, some of the old guard are falling because, they're not doing it, and there is new teams coming up.
It'll be interesting to see how the second round goes. Obviously, we've got the second round of Rome World Cup, but we'll catch up on that next week, I guess. But that'll do us for this evening, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to another edition of the LA Rams UK podcast. Andy, as always, mate, a pleasure to talk to you about the game.
Yep, same to you, John. And, it's one week closer to the end of the season now.
Yep, hopefully it's not too bad for us this Sunday, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But thanks for joining me, Andy, and thanks to everyone for listening. We'll catch you next week for another episode of the LA Rams UK podcast. Take care and good night.